Yo, what's up guys, but I'm Fire here back with a video, and today we're going to be bringing you guys another Madden 22 offensive scheme. In today's video, we're going to be bringing you guys kind of a run slash pass scheme, but kind of a QB run scheme as well. It's tough to explain, but this is a video that I made in Madden 20 and Madden 21. You guys loved it both years, so I'm back with it for Madden 22. It's going to be the pistol spread formation. We're in the Ravens playbook. This playbook is also in the Cardinals, it's in pistol, it's in the Bills, it's in run and shoot. So I think it's in 5 playbooks, those are the 5. But we are in Ravens today. Ravens is probably the most balanced one because you can still audible to things like these really, the gun spread, double flex, and just like bunch. Just has the better options besides the pistol spread if you did have to switch formations, kind of what I'm trying to say. So we are in that. I think the best one is probably pistol, but there's only maybe one more play, and there also isn't one play that is only in the Ravens playbook. So let's get into our audibles. I have already preset them, but we have the read option here, the zone alert bubble, the Y shallow cross, and the PA deep in. These 2 pass plays pretty solid. You can do a lot with them. The runs are very good as well. So overall, those are going to be the plays that we talk about. We might also maybe even mention this jet pass fake zone that you see in the middle there. That's a nice little jet sweep, but I don't use it too often. One of the nice things about this formation is that you don't really need too many abilities, so we don't really have any special abilities with the Eagles, of course, besides their O-line abilities. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys do drop a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as well. But with that being said, let's get straight into it. Alright, here we are out on the field, and seeing the way that you come out in it, it can depend. Now, since the formation is symmetrical because it's a spread, you can actually flip it to either side without your opponent knowing. So I can flip it, it flips the play, flip it like this. So same thing with pass play, so it doesn't really matter which side you come out in because you can, of course, flip the play very easily. And since it's not a gun spread, your running back's not on the right or left side, that means that he's not going to motion, so you can flip pretty easily if you ever had to. But so the way I like to run it is usually with my receivers to this side, at least for these 2 plays, the 2 passing plays. I will usually have my post on the short side of the field from here, and then for Y shallow cross, I'll have my post on the deep side. So, of course, for the runs, you can run to either side. I'll explain what's better and what's worse. We will just start out with this read option, though. So, with the read option, since we are on 3-5 wide right now, depending on what it was looking like, but right here, the slot corner's on the right, so I'm usually going to run to the left. Of course, depending on how it is set up, this outside linebacker might be on the line of scrimmage, which would mean that this receiver would kind of have no one in front of him. So usually you would want to run it to this side, of course, which is going to be the short side of the field, but it can depend, again, on a couple of different things. So we will just start out running this little read option. Now, one tip that someone actually left in my comment section, I noticed that it helps, so shout out to this guy. But if you tap RB after you start running with your read option, this works for everyone. You just tap that R1 button to cover up, then it actually will make him start running faster. So here we're just going to start running. Seems like a little bit slower. It takes him a little bit longer to get going. But then usually I noticed if you just, again, press that RB button after you kind of hand off the ball, like here, now he's going a lot faster than he once was, even though the kind of play result is the same there. It can definitely help, especially from getting away from those defensive linemen because you start out going super slow. Now, after you press that RB button, you will be going a lot faster. Again, shout out to the guy who commented that because I did not know that at all. So that was a very, very helpful tip. So you guys know, I don't know everything, even though I do post a lot of these videos. That doesn't mean I don't know some of the cool stuff like that. So always feel free to comment things like that. That might help me out and might help other people out in the comment section. But yeah, so this read option, very, very solid. Of course, we're just keeping it with Jalen Hurts, showing the quarterback run aspect, and you see we're able to pick up gains of 15 to 20 yards. Definitely a good run there. Something else I've done before in the past is I've motioned the slot receiver over. Depending on what it is, they might trail, they might not. In this instance, he did end up kind of shadowing for whatever reason because this is stock cover 3, so I'm not even sure why that happened. But sometimes in zone coverage, that slot cornerback won't really follow him over, which again, I don't know why he did. This is stock cover 3. But again, just solid run. Usually there will be a player to read. In this particular instance, while running to the left, there isn't really one dude, but if I were to flip it, you see now this R icon is above that outside linebacker. That's the guy I read, so if he kind of stays home, then I hand the ball off, but if he collapses, that's when I can hold it with Jalen Hurts. And sometimes when you hold the ball with Jalen Hurts, there will be other players who shed. these read options don't go perfect every single time. And if you are running the ball with your quarterback a lot, one thing that I would recommend is that you go on conservative ball carrier, because you will fumble a lot if you're unbalanced with your QB, so that's one thing. Alright, and showing it from just the other side a couple more times, we're just going to hand it off to Miles Sanders. And this run's very good. I like running the ball from pistol a lot. I've always kind of liked it a lot just because you get different handoff animations, you get different ways to read the blocks. So here again, we can cut it inside, cut it outside like we did there. Just solid. Running the ball in Madden 22 is very, very good. This scheme works on current gen and next gen before you guys comment, but yeah, you can just kind of cut it back. It allows you to just read the hole, similar like the halfback dive out of single back, whereas when you're in gun and you run the inside zone, you kind of have less options there. So that is pretty much it for the read option, which is our first play. The next play and run will be the zone alert bubble. So now we'll show kind of how to do this. Again, the zone alert bubble is, I think, maybe only in the Ravens playbook. I don't think it's in the pistol playbook, so this is kind of an exclusive play. It's actually in the Bills, Cardinals, and Ravens, but it's not in pistol, which has the extra passes. So I would, again, say Ravens is probably the better one if you like running the ball more, but if you're passing, maybe pistol is a little bit better because you have an extra passing play or whatever. But yeah, we'll show this zone alert bubble. I like the way this hands off, kind of like a power O. You see, you just kind of hands it off like that, and it just allows you to get off quickly. It's the same handoff animation from the left and the right side, so just, again, nice balance there. Accidentally ran the read option here, but you see, just a quick handoff allows you, again, to cut it inside, cut it outside. Now, when you're running it to this particular side, sometimes on these RPOs, you hold A to hand the ball off. Of course, you cannot do that because now our A is this guy right here. So if I hold A, of course, he's going to release the ball, which you can throw this option. The RPO bubbles are not as high powered as they once were, but these still work very solidly. So you want to use them, especially if you notice him collapsing the way that this guy is actually standing there, the curl flat. He's just kind of sitting there. Sometimes they will collapse though. In this instance, they're not, but if they do collapse, you'll pick up even more yards than that. But again, just to hand it off, you don't have to press anything because there's not a threat of the quarterback running. Whereas in some RPOs, the QB can keep it, like those RPO peak zones where the glitch happened. But yeah, I mean, overall, still a very good run. Of course, I can flip it. If I wanted to get more yards to the outside, this would potentially be an idea you had. Something you could do. Again, just hand it off. Now, of course, we're under the slot cornerback side. Not a good idea in this particular defense that we're facing, but in certain situations, flipping it to the wide side could be a little bit better. But for now, we're going to run it to this side now. Some kind of a weird blocking difference I know in this year's game is what the slot wide receivers do for these RPOs, and you'll notice it running it to both sides, but it is going to be what Greg Ward, for whatever reason, he just seems to double team this guy. I'm not sure. We'll see if we can kind of prevent this. Double team him, ID him, see if that makes a difference, but for whatever reason, he's just collapsing, so I've noticed that you're going to want to cut it back inside, if that makes any sense. Just based on the way he's blocking, there's nothing you can really do. I've shifted to the left, double team this guy, ID'd him, and he just picks him up every time, so you're usually going to want to cut it back inside. But yeah, with that being said, let's hop into some of the passing setups now. Alright, let's get into some of these passing plays now. We're going to start out with the Y shallow cross, which is the worst of the two, I would say. I don't like this play as much, but it is solid. You have a couple of things. Always a good play when you have this deeper post route. Getting into the first setup, what you're going to probably want to do is you're going to go ahead and throw the running back on a little out to the left, and that's pretty much all you do. This is kind of a quick snap type setup. You have a deep post, you have a deep fade, little out, little drag, and in route. Just good against man, good, nice, quick snap setup. You get to the line, you just put up a couple of routes, and then you snap the ball. Again, these out routes with the running back, very good this year. You have a nice little drag, a nice little in route. So again, just a simple concept. And of course, depending on what it is, this deep post can be very solid. It can get open. Here you see the drag. The in route usually bumps these routes up, which is what you saw right there. And you can throw the drag and pick up some nice rack after the catch. So overall, just a solid setup there. I mean, it's not the best, but it is a pretty simple setup. And again, you have the little in route, which usually is open. Simple high-low read, especially when you face those guys who are only putting their user in the middle of the field. Then he's going to have to choose between the drag or the in route. He won't really be able to user them both. So in that instance, you should be pretty good. I mean, another setup I had for the play was just to put A on a little curl instead. So you kind of keep things the same. Just put A on a curl like this, and this will be the first way to kind of run it. Again, it's more of a setup where mainly his user is the only one in the middle of the field, so I probably should have tried and set up that kind of a defense, but that's not the main way to run it. I just wanted to show that the best way to probably run it if you're going with something like that is to run it like this, where you put X on a deeper out route, which we will go back to out of some of the other plays, but this will open up your running back a little bit more, create a high-low read, kind of also force him to maybe want to double Mabel on that outside, which will open up the middle of the field. It's just something that could pay off a little bit later in the game. Nice little curl sitting in the middle of the field. Again, the drag, you have that there. So the curl, he can kind of be open, especially without that extra hook curl zone there. So just a solid concept and route combination right there. I can also kind of flip those routes around. If I want to curl X and then I wanted to throw A on the out route, I could certainly do something like this. Or if I have, route apprentice, one of those things, I could put A on a corner out instead, which is usually going to be the better option if you could do that. But if you can't, the out route still does work decently. It's, again, not the best, but some of these route combos you're not going to be able to do too much. And again, I wanted to make the point of the scheme to kind of be without abilities that you could use any team with. But if I really wanted to, again, I could go double curls or I could go double out routes for these two setups. But again, just kind of building around the deep post, taking some underneath routes. This isn't like too much of a deep bomb type of an offense. It's more of a check down, take your yards, and then maybe you're able to go over the top, but run the ball, hold the ball for 4-minute longer drives rather than scoring in one play type of an offense. All right, and hopping into the last passing play, which is, again, my personal favorite play out of this offense, going to be the PA deep in. You have a couple of really good routes. Just dissecting everything. You have this little seam route with Arcega Whiteside. You have this nice intermediate post route that's good against man coverage, gets into decent spots against zone coverage, and then you have nice fade on the outside and a deeper dig. Also, I'll show you what the play action looks like. It's nice little play action, just kind of faking the run, so you actually can keep it. But just there, running the play stock, you see how this post can kind of act as a crosser as well. So it's one of the nice stock routes that you have, especially if you don't have a slot apprentice where you can put these guys on crossers or anything like that. So hopping into our first setup, what we're going to do here is we're going to show, again, kind of similar to the things we do where we'll show a main setup and then we'll change up one or two routes out of it. So our first setup is going to be on a deeper out route. We're going to drag X, and that's pretty much it. So you're going to drag X, put B on a deeper out route. And then I can keep the play action, or I can block the running back, or I can put him on an out to the left. So those are kind of our three options here. We'll put him on an out route to start, hit that. Again, the out route, this route's not going to be as good because you don't have anything else to the other side. And again, since it is to the short side, it's especially not as good because you don't have as much space to work with. But if it is man coverage or a different type of a coverage than this, like a sock cover 3, then it could also get open. But going over some of the other routes here, you have the out route. I love the out routes this year, especially these deep ones. I don't think they're used nearly enough as they should for how underrated and good they are. These really do get open at a high rate for me, and especially out of spread. I think it's very important that you guys take a look at those outside routes. Make sure you watch those because those are open more times than you think. So next, we have our little drag to post route combo. There you see we kind of throw the post over the top, but we also have the drag. So just a decent high-low read. Usually both those routes are going to be open. It's just going to depend on who we uses. So we have both of these guys kind of open. Here we actually keep the play action, which you can do, especially when he gets kind of delayed like that. Late reads, you have your drag. Another thing that you could actually do with your running back is that you can go ahead and kind of option him. So I could put him on this little option, and then he'll sit there in the middle of the field. Or I can go out route to the right, and then I can kind of motion over this drag if I really wanted to. So here's just a couple of options with motion. We haven't used a lot of motion. So now you see one of the options there just to get kind of those dual underneath crossing patterns. So I really like that route combination. Hopping into our route combination number 2, we're going to go ahead and wheel RB, put B on an out route, and then we're going to put B on a deeper, or X on a deeper out route, and we're going to drag A. So here's the setup. I love these wheels out of pistol. I want you to see how open it gets against cover 3. Just sits there in the middle of the field. So I could even do that out of this shallow cross play, but I would have to flip it so the deep post on the other side probably. What I mean by that is I would go like this, I would flip it, and then I would wheel RB so he's going to the wide side and that we don't have to hot route our deep post, and then I might go with something kind of like this. Or I could just run it like this and the setup would not even be terrible. So I really like these wheel routes. Usually you want to run them to the wide side, so that's the main reason that I had to kind of flip. because I believe, or maybe I didn't even have to, that's my mistake, but just so that I wouldn't have to hot route that deeper post, that's the reason I did it. But again, wheel RB, out B, I like him on the shorter out just to hold down the zones, make sure. I think you could probably do with a deeper out route anyway, but it doesn't really matter. He's going to be kind of a distraction. And then you just have a high-low read between A and Y, and then later in the play, A and X. And again, I love these deeper out routes, so I had to throw one in this particular route combination. Then you have your little wheel. So it just gives you a lot of options. Here you see we're able to, oh my gosh, what was that, Jalen Hurts? But we had that little post route a little bit open. The drags do a decent job of pulling those zones down a little bit. Once again, I'll just show it a couple more times. Here, maybe I try and throw the out route, which I should have open again, Devontae Smith. And you can actually pass these out routes up the field. So instead of 10 yards, you can kind of get 15 the way that we did right there. These are super good routes. Trust me, you want to use them a lot. Again, I could curl. Curling is not as good this year. These curl flats do a decent job, but maybe if I was opening up the drag, that's something that I could attack a little bit differently. But again, it's not my favorite. And realistically, if I wanted to, I could also maybe slant A, but slanting, I just feel like the drags are a lot better this year just because of how slow they are, and they just seem to get better depth. But again, the post route should still be able to be open. Once again, you got to realize that a lot of times people are not leaving, two hook curls like we're playing against right here. It's going to be their user who's mainly going to play very aggressive on a route and not kind of bluff between defending two routes. He's going to completely cover one route, and that's where you'll have the wheel or the post open or the wheel and the drag open. So if he uses the wheel, then you have the drag and the post. So you're usually having 3 zone beaters, and then you include the fact that you still have the out route over on the left side that usually does beat the coverage, especially if he's running any kind of a cover 3 shell, Mike Blitz 3, something like that. Both of those things should pretty much be open. So one last thing I'll kind of show that is maybe a little bit cool is going to be concept where we go with something like this. You can actually motion this guy over and kind of turn him into a post route. So I would go with the setup maybe like this. I could put X on a deeper in route, just the way we did there. I could put him on an out route. So you have a couple of options. I would go with something like this. And now you have a little deep corner route, which we didn't have before. And since he runs so deep, he's usually going to beat the coverage the way that he did there. So that's pretty much going to do for the video. If you guys enjoyed, drop a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel down below. And peace. I'm out of here.